Hello and welcome to Law Firm Fixers, and another episode where we are going to break down everything that you probably need to fix in your marketing, in your operations, all aspects of your law firm. And as always, I'm joined by the Peanut Gallery, which includes Ross Yellen, Managing Director, and Jeannie Lutz, our Account Manager, and of course, yours truly, the founder of Practice Alchemy. So today we're going to be talking about reviews, and reviews are incredibly important. And that is whether or not you have a practice that represents businesses or consumers. It's incredibly important. Now, a lot of law firms get it. Okay, it's a consumer practice. We need to care about our online reputation, but it's a very underappreciated thing that corporate practices, whether it's litigation or transactional, need to care about this. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to start out with a general statement, which I think you should absorb and just kind of burn in your head, which is you are who Google says you are when someone doesn't know you. So you are who Google says you are when someone doesn't know you. And we're going to start out the discussion by scaring you. And that's because Jeannie is going to read some stats about really how important reviews can be. And then we'll discuss a little bit about what you need to know about it and how to get into it. So Jeannie, take it away into scaring the pants off of our audience.
So dropping into the details, here are some recent statistics about reviews. 80% of prospective new clients research firms online prior to engagement. And in fact, this is even higher for consumer practice areas, up to, say, 92%. So what does that mean? Well, it means that you better ensure that you've got some pretty decent reviews out there. But added to that complexity, 69% of review readers say that they only look at recent reviews, those written within the last 2 or 3 months. So it's not just about getting good reviews, but actually keeping them relevant and keeping them recent. And then finally, just to round it out, 48% of prospective consumer or purchasers of your service will visit a website only after reading a current and positive review. So putting that into context, it really means good reviews, high frequency of good reviews, and currency of reviews are what will matter to new clients.
Exactly. And Ross, what are you seeing? So that's the reality of how consumers of legal services, and the consumer doesn't mean necessarily a consumer, it could be a business. That's how they're behaving. What do you see, Ross, as the reality when we're doing an audit for a law practice or just folks we meet in the community? What are you seeing as a reality?
Well, first of all, I would say the reality is that those numbers are absolutely spot on. Honestly, I think I'd tick them up a little bit, if anything. One of the things, I just had a conversation last week with a big law firm, and their ratings were a direct reflection of their ratings elsewhere. There are all sorts of ratings out there. There's Chambers, the list could go on and on and on. And that's a part of what the researchers see when they're doing that research on your firm. So it's not just, the consumer facing, and I want to know that you fought for someone that was in a car accident, a construction accident, some sort of a workers' comp, case. But it really relates to those major firms that are trying to rank, not just in reviews, Google reviews and, Avvo and things like that, but those much larger, much more substantial reviews, NatLaw, absolutely, AmLaw, 100%, Chambers, and, those, for the most part, solo practitioners, that's not their focus. They want to be, top rated, super lawyers and things like that. But, and that's going to be the difference really between the consumer side and the business side. They think of each other, as very polar opposite ends of the spectrum, but really we're on the same playing field when it comes to reviews. And certainly, the big one in the mix here is always going to be Google. What's the first place you go to when you're looking to purchase a product or get someone's phone number? For the most part, that's what we're talking about here with law firms. It's, I need to get in touch with an attorney. And even if I'm given that referral, oh, you have to get in touch with Raj. He's the guy. Well, Raj, unless you're like me and I have your phone number stored in my phone, how am I going to find you? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Google search you, or I'm going to search Practice Alchemy, and what's going to come up right there on the right side navigation? It's going to be reviews, and it's very plain and clear to see. It's designed that way. Do you have 5 stars? Do you have 1 star? Do you fit somewhere in between? And as Jeannie also pointed out, the recency of those reviews is also right there. That date is right there, stamped right next to the star rating, and then the comments of that reviewer. So really, really critical element, you know, all the way from Google, all the way up the ranks.
And I wanted to, I think it's important to have a little bit of historical context in this also, because, you know, we're a tradition bound profession in the law, and reviews and the modern version of reviews, which are online reviews. And then there's the old school, whether it's peer reviews and publications. And so many lawyers come from that world. And in the business lawyer, and I represent businesses, they're still largely living in that world. But over the course of the last 15-ish years, and accelerating so, really it's the democratization of information. And you have to remember that the clients that we used to think of as these monolithic, large businesses, they're really comprised of people. And your in-house counsel who is hiring a firm is going to Google first. So they're not going to Chambers first. They're going to Google first. That's where they, like Ross says, that's where they look up the phone number. So whether or not, again, you're a consumer or you're a business-facing attorney, you have to be aware of this dynamic that's shifting and challenge some of your assumptions if you're saying this doesn't apply to me.
I would also even double down on that, Raj. And, you know, if you're in Chambers, if you're in Super Lawyers, if you're in a lot of these, you know, if you're ranked among these, you know, different peer reviews and whatnot, if you're not paying for your profile, your phone number and a link to your website does not appear. So, you know, sure, your firm name might appear, but again, what's the next step to actually get in touch with you? And that leads you right back to Google. There are other search engines out there we should mention. Bing is oddly a large one because it's built into all the Microsoft products. But certainly, you know, Google's the go-to.
Yeah. So Ross, what are you seeing as, I mean, so you've confirmed that the stats that Jeannie shared earlier from LexisNexis and various other places are indeed certainly directionally correct, or if not, even it's getting more extreme in that circumstance. Do you have something that you can share in terms of a current case study or a firm that came to us, and what was the state of their review profile, and then what did we recommend that they do, and the path that they take?
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly do, but I think Jeannie actually may be even better positioned to answer that
Jeannie.
For us.
There you go. Yeah, so oftentimes when we do audits, which is one of the first points of entry when we start talking to a particular law firm, is we do a full digital audit and we look at reviews. So case in point, did one last week, and you know, found a 1-star and only review for a particular law firm. But you know, delving below the surface, that wasn't the end game. Looking actually not over at the Google listings, but actually looking at the rest of the search engine results, we found some really interesting information from Glassdoor. Glassdoor is an employee review site, and you know, it's really indicative of the culture of the organization as well. And in that case, this particular organization had, you know, less than a stellar track record. It had a 2-star, you know, overarching 2-star review with several 1-star reviews. And so when consumers or anybody is looking, they're going to look at the holistic view of the situation. They're going to look obviously at the Google listing, but they're going to look at all the reviews that are out there. Glassdoor, some are like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. It's just, you know, it's a mad ex-employee. They're all bad reviews. Well, that's not the case. And you know, the other classic is Yelp, right? By definition, designed for somebody who's angry about a particular service to immediately Yelp about their experience. But all of those types of reviews need to be constantly reviewed, looked at, and moderated by the owner of the law firm, because they do have the opportunity to actually provide a secondary point of view.
And this brings up something really interesting, which you mentioned here, which was Glassdoor, because reviews aren't just for clients. Reviews are also if you're hiring. And in fact, we've been in situations where we've been engaged to actually help the firm's profile such that they could hire the right kinds of people. And so a review, and it's not just, don't just think of Glassdoor as that's what I'm hiring, and Google or Yelp or Avo or anything else, National Law Review as when I'm getting prospective clients. It's all one thing, and it's the part of your firm that's being projected into the world. And it really, one of the things that I've noticed, and I haven't been on the front lines of this like that Ross and Jeannie have of late, but when you do manage to get reviews, increase the reviews and the not only the number of reviews but the stars in the reviews, you're also getting clients that are less suspicious, because however they got to you, whether it's they discovered you online or they looked you up upon a referral, when you see a 3-star, it's like, well, Jane told me to call this firm, but there was a 3-star reviews, and they're on guard instead of seeing you for what they should, which is the expert. And really, it can make a big difference in the entire client engagement because of this one little seed of doubt that could be planted at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just so incredibly accurate. But definitely want to touch back on that recruitment effort. When folks are recruiting, I mean, more and more, if you just watch the news, more and more, younger associates, laterals, certainly, the culture of the firm is really important. You hear that all the time. And so how do you actually find out about the culture of the firm? One way, that a lot of folks are going to go to is Glassdoor. That's where you want to look and see who are the types of people I'm going to be working for, what's the vibe of the office. So it's certainly, you can't walk into a review conversation like this one with blinders on. You really have to go out and, say, what's the full scope of this, and, how do we improve it overall, or ensure that we continue down the great trajectory that we're already on.
Right. Again, you are who Google says you are, right? So
back to it.
Yeah. Exactly. So we probably, I mean, we've belabored this a little bit, but I think it's pretty important. Are there any other super high level points that we want to make before we go into some action steps that everyone can take? Ross, Jeannie, do you have anything else that you want to add there?
I think going into the action steps, kind of jumping right into that. One of the important things is, if you do find yourself in, with it facing a negative review, a slew of negative reviews, whatever the case may be, it's really important to own it, to own up to those negative reviews. And, as Jeannie said, stand on the other side, give the other perspective, the other point of view. You want to make sure that you're owning your instances. You can own your Google My Business listing. You can own your Glassdoor directory listing, your Yelp, all of the above. And, in doing so, you have the ability to respond and tell folks the other side of the story. And then also, a method that's incredibly effective is actually, the power of picking up the phone. I feel like it's a lost art these days. And you can pick up the phone, reach out to that client that maybe, gave you that 3-star review instead of a 5-star, and walk through those differences. You felt that you gave 5-star service and a result, and, what was the difference there? And you can usually walk through that conversation and change the result and put it in a brighter light.
In fact, we've seen instances in which reaching out to a negative review and just the act of doing so not only changes the review, but causes them to start referring business. Yeah. People want to feel listened to. And the fact that a business will do that will change the relationship from a detractor to a promoter. It's really quite impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I suppose one other thing, as we're going into the home stretch here about what you should do. So look at your footprint, right? Look at your digital footprint. It's the old Googling yourself. And a little pro tip for the slightly more technical here. When you're Googling yourself and you're using your own browser, not everyone sees the same Google. The Google that you see is not the same that the Google that I would see if I searched your name. So you can use what's called an incognito or a private mode browsing to then look yourself up. If you don't know how to do that, you can Google it. What you really want to do is look at the version of reality that other people are seeing, which is going to vary. And if Google knows it's you looking for you, it's going to show different things. So there's a little tip there. So first of all, Google yourself and find everything you can. And don't just look at the first page. Go down several pages. Remember, it's a big commitment for a client to be retaining you. And so go look down several pages, see what you can find. And it's not just Yelp and it's not just Avo, it's a whole slew of things. And what if you don't find anything? Well, actually, that's not a good thing either. If you don't have reviews, that can be a negative signal too. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing, but in this day and age, if you don't have any reviews, it can be held against you because they're saying, well, what do you mean? They don't have enough true fans of their service to take the time to do this. And I know it sounds weird because, again, in our ancient profession, it wasn't a done thing, but think about all of the other services that they're dealing with, that these consumers or these executives are dealing with in their daily life, and they're all getting reviews. And all of a sudden, here's a business that doesn't have any reviews. It's a little fishy. So either if they're bad reviews or if you don't have reviews, it's something you should absolutely put on your list to pay attention to and to remedy, because it is the beginning of your relationship. And relationships very often can be predicted from how the person first came to you. So that's our prescription for today about checking out the reviews. Any final words of wisdom, Jeannie and Ross? No? Oh.
Do it early, do it often, always look.
Exactly.
Just like voting.
Exactly. Or do it early, do it often. Excellent. So I think that's going to be it. Let's wrap up this episode of Law Firm Fixers. We're going to be back again and investigating yet more of what you can do to fix your law firm in our next one. So until then, cheers.